Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Hoepfner. I will be talking to you about the full consideration of seniority and ability case as the HR manager. If you'll go to the next slide, the agenda. These are the things that we'll be talking about this evening. All right, if you'll go to the next slide. My role as the HR manager. The role of the HR manager is to ensure that you're the go-between between the supervisor and employees, ensuring that jobs are posted correctly, that they're selecting the correct person for the correct position, and making sure it's done properly. I will work with the supervisor to make sure all those qualifications are met, as the HR manager did with Sharon Murphy in this case. Next, we will be going over the overview. So basically, the Picasso Company Paint Gun Factory, their employees filed a petition, which under the union that they were under, they had that right to work on the collective bargaining, and they came to Sharon with their justifications and reasonings why the first shift should have a first shift leader. Second and third shift have third shift leaders, but the first shift did not. Sharon Murphy then listened to their grievances. She agreed with it, made a list of qualifications that she would see in that shift leader, then compared it with what the employees put and what they requested. She then came with me to the HR manager to work the position. It was bid out, and it was put out there. The main things that both the employees and Murphy wanted was a knowledgeable employee, someone who people would want to turn to for help and for suggestions, a self-starter, anything that was necessary to help make the job easier. That's what the employees wanted, was someone to help them out. It was bid out. Robert Elder and Mary Younger both applied for the position. Sharon interviewed them and consulted Rick Hatch, who is a supervisor, and based off of those things, she selected Mary over Robert. Robert was not pleased. He filed a grievance that the collective bargaining agreement was violated. If you go to the next slide, please. So Robert had seniority on Mary by 4 years. He had been a second and third shift leader for 5 years, but he stepped back and he was no longer a supervisor. He wanted to work the day shift so he could be home with his family. He drove carpool, he did his job, he showed up for work, he was in charge of taking care of the building once the supervisor left. But there were opportunities for him to improve, but he never stepped up to take those opportunities to get to know the employees better, to work on a machine, to help the employees. His flexibility and communications were not fully there. And so those were some of the things against Robert. If you'll go to the next slide, please. With Mary, yes, she was rated as, she was a machinist second class, but she was rated as a machinist first class. But she was not promoted due to there not being any positions until this one that as a shift leader, so it gave her the opportunity. She has those skills, the interpersonal skills, that made herself more stepped above Elder, and she would always go out there and she would help out the other employees, and she was someone that people would want as a shift leader. If you'll go to the next slide, please. The collective bargaining agreement. Was it violated? Collective bargaining agreements, they are legally binding agreements. In those agreements, those contracts could cover compensations, personnel, employee or union rights and responsibilities, and also dispute resolutions and ongoing decision making. So based off of what was in that bargaining agreement under section 20.1, awarding the job bid, they did award the bid. They did post the bid for 3 days. It does say that it was classifications covered by this agreement, excluding later classifications, the corporation position should be bid out. It was bid out. It had the qualifications, the requirements for the position. It did say that seniority was being considered, but it wasn't saying that that was the reason why they were going to select anyone. And it went with 20.4, where they were giving consideration to seniority. In the past, there hadn't been any other grievances from any other people that have, by other people who saw if a lesser senior person was selected for that job. So there's never been any problems in that area. I was going to say, unless it's stated in the contract that it does not automatically translate to seniority. So seniority was considered, but it did not have to be binding. If you'll go to the next slide, please, for the plan of action. The plan of action was to award Mary the position and then have the supervisor work with Elder on how he can improve himself. If you, as an employee, as a supervisor, as a future supervisor, you want to be able to work with a group and step yourself out there and show that you want to work for people. If you do the work for them, if you're not worried about going out there and doing the work for them, with them, they're going to want to do the work for you. So it will increase your overall performance. So work with Elder on improving some skills. So if future positions came, he can apply for those. All right, if you'll go to the last slide, the conclusion. So Sharon Murphy did make the correct decision on choosing to select Mary, and she was correct in that for the shift leader. There was the fair assessment on the qualifications. He did not meet the qualifications for what was posted for that position, and so therefore, in this case, Mary was selected and she was the right person for this position. With that, I thank you.